everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Indy Eats. This is a program where we share with you different ways that you can cook healthy, affordable, and accessible meals in the home. My name is Zach Adamson. I'm the Vice President of the City Council here in Indianapolis, and I represent District 17 on the near northeast, near east, and near southeast sides of town. And with me, I have my very good friend, Dominic Dorsey. Dominic, tell us about yourself.
Well, you know, I'm a Scorpio. I enjoy long walks on the beach, puppy dogs, silent movies, all that good stuff. Born and raised here in Indianapolis, just a hometown boy, local activist, ready to do some down-home cooking.
Right, and that's how I got to know you, is through the social justice movement here in the city of Indianapolis. So we were able to connect that way. And I know you've got a large following of people. We know they'll be glad to see that you're involved in cooking in the home to build those relrelationships in the house.
Hopefully they'll stay my friends after this video, so we'll see.
Right. So today we are going to cook Ratatouille, which is a peasant's dish, but it's actually very nutritious and delicious. And we're going to serve it over a bed of baked tofu. So that's going to be a way to boost that protein capacity of this dish. It's going to be a super easy thing to do. So the first thing we're going to do is open up the packages of tofu. Now you need to use the firm tofu. Tofu comes in a lot of different styles. And the way that you're going to use this one has to be the extra firm. So they come in little packages that look like this, and they're filled with water. So the first thing we're going to do is open up these packages and dump the water out of these. And you have to drain the water off the tofu at the same time, or as soon as you get that. So what we're going to do is pull this little thing here. And I've already opened this one, so if you can take that and pour that water into that container.
Okay.
And then pull back the plastic and pull that tofu out of there. You can just tip it over into your hand. Yeah.
Okay. That is not what I thought tofu would feel like.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
All right.
Tofu's great. It's so versatile that you can do just about anything with it. And so with this, you're going to stand it up on its edge and slice down the center, being careful not to cut your fingers off. Yeah. There you go. And then you're going to cube it. You can lay it down flat, yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Oh, and the one step that I did forget to mention is that you're going to have to press this. And that will help squeeze. A tofu is like a sponge, and it will soak up the water that it's transported in and preserved in. And so you want that water to be squeezed out of there. So what you'll do is you'll take the tofu, you'll put it on a dinner plate, and put another plate on top of that with a heavy pan. And just let it set like that for a little while until the moisture draws out of it, or it gets pressed out of it. And then you start doing what he's doing by cubing this up. Yeah, it's perfect.
Well, you know, I've been in the kitchen once or twice.
Yeah, yeah. And so the nice thing about this cooking show, it doesn't matter what your cooking level skill set is. For everybody has a different level of skill sets. You can put that right in there.
Okay. Get rid of this one because it fell over here on our paper. Yeah, don't let it hit the table.
Yeah.
Got it.
There we go. I already drained the moisture out of this one, so let's do one more, just so that we have enough tofu to go around. So you're getting to be old hand at this.
Like I said, I'm used to chopping vegetables, just not tofu. So
Right.
last thing I want to do is embarrass myself on television trying to cut tofu, and then I did it wrong.
Nope, it's perfect.
All right. So the part that's messing me up is that when it falls over, I want it to stay neat and stacked up.
No, don't worry about it. And it doesn't even have to be perfect either. You just want about a 1-inch size cube.
Yeah. Just trying to make it easy for me to go back in and cut it.
There you go. Don't make them too small, though.
Yeah.
You don't want them to overcook.
Yeah.
That's great. All right, now toss those in there. So we're gonna have to bake this. So before we bake it, we want to put some flavor in it. Tofu really doesn't have a flavor of its own. So what we're gonna do is add some flavor to this tofu. But right now the oven is preheating to about 400 degrees, which is a pretty warm oven. Now what we're gonna add to this is about, I think it says about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. There you go. Hold that and just sort of drizzle that over there. I'd count to about 4 seconds.
That's 4 seconds. More?
Oh, that's about 2 seconds, but yeah.
Wow, I count fast.
You count fast? That's
Okay,
great, that's
okay.
great. Now you're gonna take your spoon here and toss that around a little bit. Real light toss, because you don't want to break the tofu up, just coat
Okay.
it in the oil. Now, so that this tofu has a bit of a crunchy texture to it, we're gonna add a little cornstarch to this. And the other seasonings that we're gonna use will add the flavor. It's a tablespoon of cornstarch, and that's the first one there. And we've already taken the time to measure this out.
All right.
And the next thing we're gonna add is a teaspoon of sea salt.
Okay.
Very good. And the next thing we're gonna add is a half a teaspoon of garlic powder.
Okay.
Very good. And the last thing we're gonna add is a quarter of a teaspoon of black pepper. Very
Got
good.
it.
And now give it another toss just to make sure everything is coated in there.
You don't want to break it.
Right.
And I also don't want the seasoning to stick to the side.
Sure. And you can really season anything with any flavorings that you like for tofu. Earlier we were doing a dish with peanut butter. You can flavor this with anything that sounds good.
What would you make with peanut butter flavored tofu?
Well, I don't know, just so that it has a nutty texture to it. You can add it to other things,
Like
not just a peanut butter. Some Asian dishes
Like
have
a tofu pad thai.
Yeah, tofu pad thai sounds awesome.
All right.
Very good. So now we're going to put this on a cookie sheet.
Just want to spread it out on there.
Yeah, just spread it out so that it's in a single layer. And I used 2 packages of tofu. The recipe only calls for 1, but I just wanted to make sure there was enough for everybody to have a little tofu.
Okay.
Yeah, and just sort of spread it out so it's in a single layer. Yeah. You can use your hands for this, yeah. We're all among friends here.
I just don't like to use my hands too much after I've been touching other stuff in the kitchen.
Yeah. There we go. And now we're gonna pop this in the oven for between 20 minutes to 30 minutes, just so that it has time to cook up. And about halfway in that time, we're gonna go in and give it a good toss to make sure that all of the different sides are getting exposed to the heat. Give it a good touch.
There we go. We want to go high, we want to go
That's
low.
good. That's perfect. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I know if I go too
Watch
high.
those racks. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
And shove it close. There you go.
Sounds good.
Very good. And now this will cook for between 20 and 30 minutes, and I like to go back and about 10 minutes afterwards and sort of rotate those pieces so that they're getting browned on all the different sides.
Sweet.
So the first thing we're going to do is we've got 2 cans of tomatoes that we want to add to our ratatouille. So we're going to have Dominic is going to open those cans. But before we drain the liquid out of those, we want to save half a cup of liquid from one of these cans of tofu. So we've got a measuring cup right here, and the cups are on this side here. So this is the 1 cup here. So 1 cup is 8 ounces, so 4 ounces is half a cup.
Okay. I'm curious. I saw online that they had the ones that could open it like that.
Yeah, that's
I'm really interested.
That's a different kind of can opener.
I was just trying to see because
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
get the chance to use these anymore. Mine is electric. I was like, I wonder if I
Yeah.
could do that. Okay.
That's a different one. They crank on the top instead of the sides. And I'm going to try to save some of this water so we get liquid. This is just
much
just about half
So
a
if
cup.
you get the rest of this one, you might get all of it.
Yeah. Try that in there. Keep the finger on the lid and you can dump it over.
I was hoping that I could stop it before it got too much.
Yeah.
That's why I'm just watching. Because as I'm tilting it, then I will need to hold my finger on it.
It's not that important because again, we're gonna increase
We're not
the
gonna
size
get that much
of the
more of
recipe.
it.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, that's
all
about
good.
all of it
Yeah.
anyway. So we were right on target.
Let's put the empty the cans of tomatoes in there. And the next thing we're gonna do is the chickpeas. So over here we've got cans of chickpeas. These are also known as garbanzo beans. So chickpeas and garbanzo beans are the same thing. So these are really cheap. I think got these for The cans of tomatoes were 50 cents a piece, and the garbanzo beans may have been 65 cents a piece. Garbanzo beans, high source of protein. It's the same stuff that they make hummus out of. So they you
Not
take these and run them, not these ones here, but you can run them through your food processor and make hummus out of that. Very good. So I'll let you open those, and we're going to dump that liquid out into this same bowl here.
There we go.
We got this liquid here.
All right. So can I go ahead and add the beans to the tomatoes?
Yeah, add the beans to the tomatoes.
Okay. Got it. All right. Sweet. You just need them in cubes, right? Nothing special?
Yeah, and let me show you a trick with the bell pepper. I like
Okay.
to do it, just take my thumb, stick it right in there next to that thing, and just pull it apart. And then you kind of pull that center piece out of there. I'm going to dump this out.
See, what I usually do, I usually cut the top off, then cut the center off, and then slice it.
You know what? The beautiful thing about cooking is
There's no one right way to
no
do
one
it.
right way, and everybody has their own way of doing things. So cooking, again, is one of those things that should bring you a lot of joy. And whatever is the easiest thing for you to do, that's the way you ought to do it. And we're only going to need about a cup of this, so not even.
So probably don't need both sides of it.
Yeah, maybe about 2/3 of it.
They're gonna be enough.
That's great. In with the chickpeas and the diced tomatoes.
Set this right here.
Yeah. Yeah, you can cut up about maybe about
Some more?
another quarter of this. Yeah, just about half of that. And give me the other half, and I'll get rid of that. Is that our timer? I think I hear our timer going off.
Yeah.
So let me run over there real quick, and I'll bring that over here
The baked tofu.
so that we can toss that around.
Sweet.
I don't want to.
Coming in.
Be real careful. And so now that it's sort of cooked on one side, you want to try to toss that around a little bit.
Looks a bit like chicken.
Yeah. And depending on what you season it with, it could possibly taste like chicken.
Well, they say everything tastes like chicken, but
Right.
it's the texture and the consistency
Right.
more so than anything.
And then as you cook this down, it'll sort of get more and more like a texture that resembles meat products. Yeah. That's great.
Okay.
Okay, now I like to just give it a little shake like this so it kind of spreads out a little bit, and then pop it back in the oven for another 10 minutes.
No, actually, I want to use
The good one.
the shiny
The
Cuisinart.
sharp one.
Oh, yeah.
Watch your fingers.
Absolutely. See, this is what I like. That sound.
Right.
I always feel out of place when I'm cooking in somebody else's kitchen because I'm used to my own knives and my own stuff.
Yep, for sure.
My wife actually got me a really good Valentine's Day gift this year. They got me one of those cutting boards that has a handle.
Nice.
And then when you like close it together, then it turns into something that can actually pour the vegetables
bowl,
in.
right. Yeah, I've seen those.
Yes.
Nice.
Game changer. So,
Actually, it does kind of look like about a cup,
yeah.
doesn't it?
It may be really close. We may not need
Slide
this side.
Yeah, move this over here.
All right.
Toss those in there, and now we're gonna chop up one zucchini and one squash. I think we're gonna do two instead because I think we're gonna need to double the recipe a little bit. Maybe 1.5 each.
I mean, this bowl's getting kind of,
Getting crowded.
everybody's getting close.
Yeah, let me go grab another one. And so the next thing we're gonna add is the zucchini and the squash. Now, one of the nice things about this is I'd gone to Kroger to buy, I was gonna buy 2 zucchini and 2 squash. And they weren't too expensive, but then I passed this display that had produce that was probably on its last leg, and it was less than perfect. But this was 99 cents, and this was 99 cents. So I only needed 2 of them, so I'm going to be able to pull out more than I'm going to need for about half the price that I had paid would have paid otherwise. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Sometimes when you go to the grocery store, you have to be a little crafty with how you're looking for what you're going to buy. So like this one is pretty good all over. And I remember there was one. This one is kind of squishy on the end there. So I would cut off maybe about a third of the way up and use that. And that should be enough of the zucchini. But then I have 2 zucchinis that I can do something else with. And I got that for 99 cents.
I actually cook with zucchini and squash quite a bit.
Yeah.
I put them in chili and spaghetti.
Yeah, right on. And you're going to do the same thing with these squash here.
Okay.
So zucchini in with the rest of those. And so the recipe actually calls for 1 of each, 1 zucchini, 1 squash, because we've got about 8 people, 9 people here we're trying to feed, so we do want to increase the size of that. And that's the beautiful thing about recipes is depending on how many people you're feeding, you just increase the amount that you're putting in and you have enough to serve everybody.
Sweet.
And now we're going to peel the eggplant, which is going to be a lot of fun. So there's the eggplant. We're not going to add any part of this to our stock pot, just because it doesn't make a good broth. But just starts peeling that off, the outside of that skin. There you go. The peel on well actually eggplant generally tastes kind of bitter until you cook it with something, but the skin especially can be a little bitter. But we don't need it for this recipe. And we're going to cut this just like we did the zucchini.
Okay. I don't even need to cut the butt off that one.
I would cut it off, yeah. Just a little piece there. And give those to me, and I'll put them over here.
Is that a good size for?
Yep, that's great.
Okay.
And let me hold on to this one so you have the whole space there. And I would actually, because this is a kind of a larger eggplant instead of a medium eggplant, so.
Dice them in half again, maybe?
No, I mean, instead of using both
halves,
sides. I mean, yeah, just maybe part of this one, because we don't want to have too much eggplant.
Some of these chunks came out really big.
That's all right. That's all right.
Well, if it's okay with you, if you're not going to scream, I'm sure not going to holler.
Yeah.
I just want it to look pretty like in the Disney movie.
Right, right. Tell me, do you have any memories of your childhood that were in the kitchen with family members doing any cooking?
Well, let me tell you something, Zach. I grew up fat, so I like to eat. And that means that if I like to eat, that means I had to learn how to cook. So I learned how to cook spaghetti, breakfast, all that good stuff very early. So took a little bit of what Mom taught me in terms of how to cook, a little bit of what my grandmother taught me, and pieces from my dad, and turned it into my own recipes, and it's something I really enjoyed doing at home. So
yeah, so you did have a childhood that would spend some time in the kitchen.
Oh yeah, we cooked all the time. Yeah. So big family get-togethers, and again, you're going to cook something that's going to last a little bit of time, so we have enough leftovers and make food stretch.
Right.
That was the thing.
So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to start warming up the pan to start to cook this all together. So we're going to heat about 2 tablespoons of oil in this pan.
That good?
Yeah, that's great. I sort of eyeball oil, but I like a lot of olive oil, so I'm a big fan. Okay, Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do after we've got the oil heated up a little bit, we're gonna add 1/2 teaspoon, I'm sorry, we're gonna add 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. And as we said earlier, we like to use the minced garlic that comes in a jar. It's a lot easier to use and it's pretty affordable per dish that you're making. So it costs a little more at one time, but you can use it for many different recipes. So it's kind of economical to buy it this way. So go ahead and add that to that. I'm just gonna toss that around a little bit, take it off the heat. Okay, now we're just gonna spoon this in there so it can start to cook. And I'm worried that the pan may not be big enough, so we're gonna sort of be a little selective about what's going in the pan first. A little bit of everything at one time, but nothing too much of one item. There's the onions.
Yeah, that's it.
There we go. I think that's good for now because this pan is a little small. But I come from a very large Mexican family, so we use big pans.
Yeah, I'm used to like big, huge black cast iron skillets,
Right.
the big roasting pan. I don't know how to cook for 3 people. I want to give all my food to my students and neighbors and
Nice.
all that good stuff.
So you were the favorite on the block.
I don't know about the favorite, but I definitely was the one where, like I said, I work at a college now. So now my students will call me once a week. It's like, hey, so what leftovers do you have that we can come pilfer from your house?
Right.
So major holidays, Valentine's Day, they came and got whatever we didn't eat. So nothing goes to waste, but I definitely could learn to cook less.
Right. And so this is going to saute in this pan for about 7 minutes until most of these vegetables have gotten tender. Really, that's what you're looking for. It's more of a testing kind of thing. So you're going to look at the vegetables and how they're cooking down. If they're still firm after 7 minutes, you might have to go to 8 or 9 minutes. If they're tender in 5 minutes, then you're done.
Do we want to cover it to get to the process
can
to make
cover
them a
it.
little bit more tender or speed up the cooking process?
Yeah, that would help. So now that we're kind of into this recipe a little bit, we're going to add the 1/2 cup of the reserved tomato liquid. I'm going to add that in there. And then we're going to add 1/2 teaspoon of salt in there.
Okay.
There we go. Now give that a good stir, and we're going to cover this up and let it cook for 5 minutes so that all the flavors have a chance to marry. There you go. And then just pop a lid on there. And then we'll wait 5 minutes, and we'll come right back. Now that we've cooked down, we're going to start adding the rest of these ingredients here, and we're going to start with adding the vinegar, which is here. Now this is red wine vinegar, and it calls for where is it? Red wine vinegar, right here. 1 tablespoon of red wine vinegar. And if you don't have red wine vinegar, one of the tricks that I like to do is use regular white vinegar, which is super, super cheap, and maybe add a drop of grape jelly to it, because all you're looking for is sweetness to that acid that the vinegar provides. But we had red wine vinegar, so we're going to use that. So go ahead and add that to that list.
Okay.
And now we're going to add smoked paprika, and that is 1/2 teaspoon smoked paprika. Again, this might be a little exotic, but I know they have it at every grocery store. But it's going to add a real smoky flavor to the dish. And now we're going to add 2 tablespoons of basil. It calls for fresh basil, but I'm going to use dry basil because that's what I had. Voila. Yeah, and it says to cook this uncovered. And so now we've got everything is finished. We've pulled the tofu out of the oven. It is baked, and the ratatouille is simmering away. It's ready. We can probably turn that off now. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of tofu and put it in each one of these bowls, and then take the ratatouille and put it right on top of there. So we'll have a complete dish there. So super easy. I'm going to put the tofu in, and then you
spoon it right on
spoon
top.
it right on top. And there you have it. This is the completed dish. This is the ratatouille over baked tofu. So Mama Ray is going to give us her opinion on this.
I'm scared.
It's hot.
Yeah, I'm about to say it just came out. I'm gonna say you're pointing at it.
It's good.
Oh, good.
It's good. You have a recipe and you can make it your own. So to me, I would put just a pinch of sugar in it of some sort.
Yeah.
And that would bring that seasoning, the salt and that you had.
Bring it all together.
Bring it all together
Yeah.
and baby, then it's rocking.
Yeah,
It would
right.
enhance the flavor of the basil.
It would.
Right,
It
right.
would. Your zucchini is crunchy. The texture's good. It's a really good dish.
And with the added texture of the roasted, baked tofu, which gives it a little bit more depth. And a huge amount of protein, and all of this stuff was less than $15, I think, for what, we've got all that back there too, so you could literally feed 15 people with this recipe.
And it was quick to make. It was very quick to make. Once you did your prep, it was very fast to make.
So again,
And the texture of the chickpeas, it gives you some crunch, something to bite into.
right. Dominic, what do you think?
No, I like it. Like I said, and these are ingredients that I keep in the house. So this is something that I can see myself making when I'm haven't gone to the grocery store yet, and I need to find out my daughter's hungry, my wife's hungry. What am I going to make? Something really easy that can be put together. Again, you can put your own spin on it with the basil and the sugar. I was thinking the same thing, just to give it a little bit of depth in terms of like some zing or some pop on the end. I might even throw some sriracha in here. Who knows?
Well, we were talking about that earlier in the other episode. Mama Ray doesn't care for too much sriracha, but I like sriracha, so
Just a touch.
So
a little bit goes a long way.
I did do just a drop in the other,
Oh, yeah.
and it did bring it all together.
Yep.
It does.
Just that little drop.
Right.
It did bring it all together. So instead of sriracha, for me, I would probably use a white pepper, because white pepper has a little more zing than the black
Sure.
pepper does. Well, it would give it that same. And in this, probably do just a little white pepper to give it that heat
Right,
that
right.
you're looking for.
Yeah.
And that would just.
And as we've said over and over again, cooking is just something you do that brings you joy. You add your own touch, you add your own flair, you add your own favorite flavors to things. Make it your own.
Absolutely. And a recipe is just that. It's a guideline. It gives you something to go by. And then
Unless
once
you're-
you've done it,
Yeah,
unless you're
baking. Unless you're baking.
Oh.
If you're baking, you gotta
better
follow the
follow the
recipe. You
directions.
gotta follow the recipe.
Absolutely,
But
absolutely.
anything basically on the stovetop is pretty much eyeball it, look at it, flavor. What do you think? How's it taste? And the more you get familiar with spending time behind the stove, the more you'll be able to just improvise and throw your own flair into these things. Right? Wouldn't you say? Mm-hmm. You say, and also one of the nice things too. I don't know how many folks know. I think we've talked about this on other episodes, but Mama Ray has her own line of seasonings, and the seasonings that we put on our tofu, you could just as easily have used a jar of seasoning that's already pre-made, like maybe Lowry's or something, or Mama Ray's special seasoning. So you don't be confined by this. Don't make it any harder than it has to be. So if it's easier for you to go and get a little jar of seasonings, then go get a seasoning. The point is to be making dinner at home with your families, creating that bonding, and have a healthy meal with the ones you love. So this is a super easy recipe, and we hope that you will try it at home with your family tonight.